Welcome, Alex. Lovely to see you again.
Likewise.
It's
Thank
been
you.
a while. And I'm really interested because you've been investing in challenger banks. So I'm wondering what your perspective is on the challenger banks.
Yeah, I think Challenger Banks is a really interesting time and a fascinating subject. One, maybe some context about why I think it's interesting.
Great.
Globally, there's about 2 billion people that are unbanked, probably about the same that are underbanked. It's a massive challenge. And yet, it isn't because banks don't want to serve customers. They haven't figured out an affordable way to serve them across a range of financial products and services. Um, they operate with antiquated infrastructure, a physical branch network, and now there's a range of technologies that allow us to leapfrog that set. The last 15 years have seen the rise of FinTech, and that's been the story of unbundling the bank. So individual financial products and services like lending or remittances or payments have seen scaled companies really succeed. In the U.S., there's over 1,500 Series A funded fintech businesses, which is astounding. And when
Wow.
you think about it from a consumer lens, it's actually not a particularly consumer friendly outcome, despite the fact every individual product is.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I'm really interested in is, well, how do you actually take those two things together? And say,
Right.
look, in this age where we're finding new ways to serve customers much more affordably in a much better way through fintech, how do we actually rebundle that experience and actually bring it together in a more holistic way? And in many ways, Challenger Banks is taking fintech to the point that's closest to the paycheck. That's the day-to-day checking account. That's where people are managing their loans, or managing their insurance, or managing their paycheck, or managing their futures. And that's what essentially digital banks. And one of the things that I think is really interesting about them is that they are rebundling the financial product and services around the consumer at the point that is closest to their money. And then from there, we can start doing some really interesting things around offering a range of other financial products and services from there.
And how do you think the incumbent banks feel about all the challenger banks that are starting to pop up, and particularly this year, I've noticed?
You know, it's a fascinating time right now.
Yes.
Incumbent banks are facing a little bit of a crunch in a couple different directions,
Okay.
but certainly the challengers are starting to rise. Chime Bank, one of our portfolio companies, which will be here later
Yes.
today, is opening more bank accounts every month than many of the incumbents, and so they're actually managing to scale and do it, but also doing it with a cost infrastructure that's much more affordable, but also doing it in this kind of Web 2.0 way.
Right.
And so I do think they're nervous. At the same time, a lot of non-traditional financial products, non-traditional companies are starting to offer and think about financial products and services. Think Apple with its credit card and et cetera. So I think they're nervous, but I actually think it's also an impetus to revisit and rethink the consumer experience.
Yes.
Banks have a lot of incredible assets that they can leverage, including a trove of customer relationships,
Yes.
a lot of information on how to serve them, and really an experienced talent force that can do that. So I think that a lot of them are thinking about how to revisit.
So it's sort of prompting change even in the incumbents, you think. And what's your personal vision of where this is going with the challenger banks?
So I'm extremely bullish. Maybe 3 thoughts about where this might go.
Okay.
One is I think existing challenger banks are going to continue to scale, not just their customer base, but actually their product offering. They'll do it in some cases directly and offer products to their customers where they're very well suited to, but also indirectly by creating an ecosystem and including other fintechs or other leading financial product and service providers into their ecosystem.
Right.
I think second, we're seeing a bunch of fintechs outside of the challenger banks starting to add on checking accounts. And so this border between what is a challenger bank, what is a lender, what is a wealth manager is starting to blur a little bit.
I've noticed that this year. Yeah.
And I think we're going to see more of that.
Great.
And the third that I think is really interesting is this horizontalization of fintech that we're seeing in the sector, which, there are companies that are allowing others to build bank accounts or other financial products and services on top of their infrastructure.
Right.
And so any brand or any consumer company will be able to become also a financial product and service provider by partnering with one of these companies. And I think we'll start seeing a little bit more of that as well. So it's going to become an interesting space. I think they're the ones that are going to be able to offer an incredible value proposition to their customers, be able to really fill needs and provide insights in real time, and then kind of build an ecosystem, are going to succeed and be able to scale and really break out.
And from what I've heard from some of the challenger banks, that they are very creative. And I myself, being an entrepreneur, I've created our own business models, and a lot of them match the same. Like being paid in advance instead of after the fact, 30 days or whatever. I mean, people have got to survive, and it just makes sense. So I'm really, really behind them. I think it's great, and I appreciate that you're investing in them.
I'm excited for the discussion today with a couple of those leading innovators as well.
Yes, I think it's going to be a great panel. Thank you so much, Alex.
Okay.
Okay.